Hello everybody, my name is Brooklyn, and for my personal experience, I'm going to be talking about the 3 times I broke my left arm specifically, and I actually brought in 2 of my casts. This one I believe is from the second time I broke my arm, so I was between the ages of 7 and 8, and this cast that I brought in was from the third time I broke my arm, and I was in 4th grade, so roughly, I believe that's 8 to 9. So the first time I broke my arm, I was 5 years old, and I had been climbing a tree with my best friend. So it hadn't been raining at the time we were climbing the tree, but it had rained either the night before or that day, something. It wasn't raining at the time though. Everything was still very wet, and so while we were climbing the tree, she was standing up on the branch, and I was kind of holding on and just hanging from it, and she had asked me to slide over a little bit so she could step on a certain part of the branch. And as I was sliding over, I had grabbed a really slippery part of the tree, unfortunately, and in doing so, I just slipped right out of it. And when I slipped, I didn't only just fall on the ground, I landed on a cinder block. Ouch! Yeah, that did not feel great. I don't really remember too much after that, but I definitely did break my arm. I remember the pain, I remember it hurting a lot. Yeah, but not too many specific memories for that one. The second time I broke my arm, I was doing cheer at the time. I wasn't at cheer practice, but I had been cheerleading. And this is important because the other 3 girls that I were hanging out with did not do cheer. They just knew that I did cheer. 2 of the girls were sisters, I believe. They were neighbors to me, so I don't know them to this day, nor do I remember their names. But yeah, they lived across the street from me, and we were also hanging out with another girl who lived next door to them. And they were significantly older than me by at least 3 or 4 years, and I was only 6 at the time, so I was pretty small. And they knew I did cheerleading, so they asked if we could stunt, and that's when, the girls get together and lift one of the girls into the air. And since I was the smallest, they asked if I could be the flyer, which is the girl who goes in the air. And even at cheer practice, because I was, one of the tinier girls, they had asked me if I could be a flyer. I was way too nervous to even do this at cheer practice. Something about just being in the air made me way too nervous, and a very important factor of being a flyer is having a lot of core strength so that you can keep yourself sturdy while you're up there, because it helps the girls who are lifting you. I did not have this strength because of the anxiety that I had when I went in the air, but the girls I was with were older than me, so I decided, why not? What the heck? Yeah, you can put me in the air, so I let them. And as we were getting ready to get in the stunt, and they had kind of brought me off the ground a little bit, I had already realized that I was getting very nervous. So by the time they had fully lifted me in the air, I was completely wobbly and I was shaking. And I just fell right out of the stunt from pretty high up at the time. So yeah, I had broken my arm. I knew that I had broken my arm because I remember the pain and how bad it felt. So in my head I was like, yep, it's broken, it's broken. And I remember the other 2 girls that were sisters were like on my side telling me like, don't freak out, we don't want to get in trouble. The whole situation was crazy, but I just remember crying, asking for them to bring me their house phone so that I could call my dad. So they brought me their house phone, I called my house phone, my dad picked up, and I'm sobbing and I'm letting him know, hey, I think I broke my arm, I'm freaking out, and I don't want to walk home. And my dad is kind of just on the other line. Not that he didn't believe me, but I was a little 6-year-old kid. Any kind of pain that I had gotten, I would freak out. So my dad, when he answered the phone, he was like, you didn't break it, just come on, walk on back home. So after haggling with my dad over the phone, I ended up having to walk back home with my broken arm at the poor little age of 6. So I walk on back home, and I walk in my house just crying, sobbing, holding my arm, and my dad, once he realized like, oh wow, she's really hurt, he raced over to me and he's looking at my arm, and I think once it clicked in his head like, yeah, she broke it. He felt so bad. He sat me down on the couch, and I remember he handed me a bag of peas. And again, because I was so young, he didn't really allow me to watch like bad shows. So because he felt so bad, he let me watch South Park, and that's still a very clear memory to this day. Because I felt so lucky, I forgot about my broken arm, and yeah, I just sat there and watched the show. But going back to this cast was for that incident. I think I had 2 different casts for this incident. I don't have the other one here with me today, but this is one of them. And now on to the last time I broke this arm. So that was in 4th grade. And this one is one of the funnier ones, because without telling the entire story, it sounds very silly. But I was in 4th grade and we were outside for gym class and we were playing some sort of tag that involved hula hoops. I believe the hula hoops were the bases, so when we would run inside the hula hoop, you were like safe. So I had been standing inside a hula hoop with a kid that was in my class, and I was just ready to run, but I didn't run properly and my foot or my ankle got caught right on a hula hoop, and I completely tripped because it also got snagged on the other boy's ankle who was also in the hula hoop with me, so it completely pulled me and swept me out from underneath my feet, and I landed right on my elbow on the hard ground, and I was just sobbing. And my gym teacher rushed over to me. My entire class was surrounding me, actually. And my gym teacher, I just remember her standing over me going, "Hey, is everything okay? Is everything okay?" And I'm convincing her, like, it's broken. I know it's broken. So I go and sit on the side and wait for the nurse to come out and get me. And one of my friends, I remember he had come and sat with me. But when the nurse had come over to, like, get me and she brought me inside, I vividly remember her telling me that, "Oh, honey, don't worry. It's not broken. You're fine." And I kept trying to explain to her, like, I know what it feels like to have a broken arm. Something's wrong. And so when I went home to my parents that day, I had let them know what the nurse told me, but I was telling them, like, listen, I think it's broken. So they waited 2 days to finally take me to the doctor, and guess what? It was broken, and this time it was actually a buckle fracture, and I got a cast all the way up to here. So that is what this cast is from. Yeah, this was the worst cast. I mean, all of them are itchy, but this was by far the worst cast. But yes, long story short, I tripped over a hula hoop and broke my arm. And I just honestly love telling all these stories. I think that they're pretty funny. Yeah.